Hey there, welcome to this exciting video where we are going to be exploring the invigorating world of cold plunges. Why? Because they have been reported to do everything from being an elixir of youth, curing depression, and even helping drug addicts come clean. More on that later. Cold water immersion has grown in popularity in recent years, in part due to podcasters like Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman, but it's also been mentioned by celebrities like Madonna, Lady Gaga, Kate Moss, Harry Styles, and many more. Join me as we take a deep dive into the fascinating history of this ancient practice and then discover the latest cutting-edge scientific research on the benefits and risks of cold plunges. But wait, there's more. We'll also take a look at the different options available for cold plunges, no matter what your budget is. And I'll share my personal experience with the one that I chose to purchase. So whether you're a seasoned veteran of the cold or a curious newcomer, this video is sure to be a cool and refreshing journey. So grab your towel and get ready to take the plunge. First things first, let's get into the history of cold plunges. Immersion in cold water dates back thousands of years, with evidence of its first use being found in ancient cultures all over the world. The ancient Greeks, for example, were known to take cold baths after exercise, believing it was beneficial for the muscles and for the circulation. The Romans, who had public baths, also had both hot and cold pools, and they were also big fans of cold water immersion. In the Middle Ages, its primary use was for medicinal purposes. Doctors would use it to help reduce fever, relieve pain, and even cure certain illnesses. Back in the day, doctors also submerged patients in cold water as a form of shock therapy to help treat mental illness. I guess you could say those doctors were really good at making their patients chill out. Cold water immersion became more widely recognized for its health benefits in the 19th and 20th century. In fact, some of the most famous proponents of cold water immersion were also history's most powerful figures. Thomas Jefferson, for example, was known to take cold baths every morning, and Charles Darwin believed that cold water was good for the brain. It's also been part of the Scandinavian practice of alternating between sauna sessions with cold plunges. It has traditions and practices in many cold weather countries from Iceland to Russia and beyond. As we fast forward to the present day, the practice of cold plunges has seen a renaissance, in part due to the Iceman, also known as Wim Hof. He starred in a Vice documentary back in 2015 that is, in my opinion, one of the better documentaries Vice has ever produced. While he may be famous for leading semi-naked retreats in the chilly mountains of Poland, there's so much more to his story than meets the eye. Thanks to a wave of new research, Wim's once dismissed mind-over-matter breathing techniques are now gaining widespread recognition and support amongst doctors and scientists to help remedy a variety of conditions. More on this in a future video. In fact, what was once considered wonky is now being hailed as a powerful tool for improving both physical and mental well-being. Let's now take a look at the chilling benefits and science of cold plunges. All the benefits I'm about to sort through stem from basic principles of physiology. When you dunk yourself into a bunch of cold water, your body goes into shock and immediately rushes blood to your vital organs by constricting your veins. So if you've ever walked into a glass door, hit your head, or sprained your ankle, it's likely that you were told to put an ice pack on it to reduce the swelling. Well, cold plunges are basically that, but for your whole body. And in turn, that reduces inflammation everywhere. It can also do a whole range of things, starting with, number 1, improving your mood. Chris Hemsworth recently reported on an Instagram post that cold plunges improved his mood. He joked that when you are in the cold water, you feel like you're dying, but when you get out, you feel alive again, which makes you very happy. This is also backed up by research. A 2021 study in Lifestyle Medicine showed that swimming in the cold ocean water improved participants' mood. Now, it's quite possible that those participants saw their mood increase as a function of, swimming, which is one of the most intense forms of cardio you can do. However, we do know that cold water exposure activates the vagus nerve, and this slows down breathing and heart rate. This means that your body switches to a mode called rest and digest, and away from that fight or flight response, which, by the way, is what happens when you first enter the cold water. But more importantly, we're often in a fight and flight response throughout our daily lives, and this is a form of chronic stress, and it can induce anxiety and depression. Furthermore, scientists from Charles University in Prague conducted a study in which participants immersed themselves in 57 degrees of water up to their shoulders. After an hour, they did a blood sample and found that their dopamine concentrations had increased by 250%, and their norepinephrine concentrations increased by 503%. Here's the thing. Unlike doing a line of cocaine, the participants' dopamine levels didn't start crashing right away. The dopamine increase remained elevated for an hour afterwards. Side note, in her book Dopamine Nation, Anna Lemke details the story of one of her patients that she worked with as a clinical psychologist who had a cocaine addiction. Quitting for Michael, her patient, wasn't the hard part. Rather, it was dealing with the flood of negative emotions he had been masking with drugs. When he wasn't feeling sad or depressed, he wasn't feeling anything at all. Over a period of a few weeks, he noticed his mood getting better with cold showers, and subsequently that evolved into him getting a cold plunge tank and immersing himself in the cold water for 5 to 10 minutes every morning, and again just before bed. He said that after the initial shock, your skin goes numb, and right before getting out, he felt like he was high, almost like he remembers the ecstasy or Vicodin feeling. Speaking of Vicodin, another great benefit of cold plunge tanks is how it can help you to relieve muscle soreness. Because when you combine it with a cool-down exercise routine, cold water therapy can actually help you recover. Studies have shown that ice baths can reduce muscle soreness, therefore reducing recovery time. In studies from the Medicine Journal and the Journal of Athletic Training, the perception of muscle soreness was significantly lower 24 hours after immersion in cold water. Additionally, cold water immersion may also reduce levels of lactic acid buildup, which is what causes your muscles to feel fatigued and can be a source of muscle soreness post-workout. It's possible that regularly taking a dip in a cold pool can offer even more rejuvenating advantages. As a 2022 study published in the Frontiers of Sports and Active Living journal, volleyball players experienced relief from fatigue and discomfort and enhanced their overall health by immersing themselves in water cooled to 50 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes over a period of 12 days. Another benefit that can have wide-ranging effects is the possibility for cold water to improve your sleep. According to another study by the French National Institute of Sport, people who submerged their entire bodies, including their heads, in cold water after exercising had an increase in slow wave sleep, which scientists believe is the most restful and recuperating part of sleep. This stage of sleep may also help with memory, creativity, and insightful thinking, as well as immune system boosting. Cold water can also boost your metabolism and help you burn fat. According to a meta-analysis published in 2019, cold exposure activates brown adipose tissue, often known as brown fat, which helps the body burn more calories. Another recent meta-analysis of 104 different studies indicated that swimming in cold water can help people lose weight, gain muscle, and protect from ailments like diabetes and heart disease. Now, one important caveat is that if you use a cold plunge, but then do anything to warm yourself up, including exercise or hopping in a sauna or hot tub, you are negating the benefits you could have in relation to increased metabolism and fat loss. In fact, that is what the Soberg principle, sorry if I'm butchering that, is based on. It means to enhance the metabolic effects of cold, you must force your body to reheat on its own. Let your body shiver as it may enhance metabolic increases from cold and further activates brown fat thermogenesis. Cold exposure has also been known to increase the levels of the hormone testosterone. Some small studies have found that cold exposure can improve sperm quality, and according to neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, this could also be due to the fact that when the body is cooled, the blood vessels constrict, increasing perfusion and circulation of the affected area, which could possibly lead to increased testosterone. Huberman also suggests that higher dopamine levels may result in higher luteinizing hormone levels, which may lead to higher quality sperm. As Andrew has noted on his podcast, there are also devices one can buy online that are meant to ice your balls. I don't think he, nor I, nor anybody can necessarily say it's a good idea, but in theory, the scientific literature seems to indicate that this too could improve sperm quality. A review in North American Journal of Medicine in Science revealed that cold temperatures can lead to a rise in white blood cells and natural killer cells, which are responsible for fighting infection and providing protection against sickness. Another study done in the Netherlands indicated that people who took cold showers for up to 90 seconds per 30-day period actually missed less days of work than those who just took the usual comfortable temperature showers. I can also personally attest to this, as since I've been using my cold plunge tank, I've rarely become sick, and in fact the only time in recent memory I caught something was after a week and a half of traveling in Europe where I wasn't able to have my normal cold plunge routine. and I became sick immediately after coming home. You can also find some frosty relief from aches and pains. A study which was published in 2022 in the Biological Research for Nursing Journal showed that those with autoinflammatory arthritis experienced less agony and had an improved quality of life after submerging themselves in cold water for 20 minutes every day over a span of 4 weeks. Other scientific studies have suggested that cold water or swimming in icy water may lessen the perception of pain, probably because the cold weather induces the body to secrete norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter which is associated with the fight or flight response. I've noticed that when I've had various people try my Cold Plunge Tank, immediately afterwards they describe their skin as feeling like it's almost electrified, a tingling, weird type of sensation. I would surmise that this plays a role in the reduction of pain signals to the brain, and even more so, I found that just 3 minutes in my 52-degree water is enough to cure even the most persistent of headaches. Moving on, an icy dip can also calm your mind and reduce stress. One thing I like to do every time I enter my tank is to turn on the mind and body activity on my Apple Watch. Yes, this is a real activity, but primarily for the purposes of recording my heart rate. No matter what my heart rate is at when I enter the tank, within minutes my heart rate drops, often anywhere from 10 to 30 beats per minute. In times of high stress, the sympathetic nervous system quickly activates the vagus nerve and prompts the parasympathetic nervous system to calm down. A 2018 study discovered that when cold stimulation was applied to the neck, participants' heart rate variability increased and heart rate decreased more than the control group, indicating a decreased stress and improved emotional state. Now this next one you might not care about, but allow me to explain why you should care. The cold water can improve insulin sensitivity. So let's say you just had some sweet birthday cake. Your glucose levels are going to spike pretty quickly, and your pancreas is going to secrete insulin to lower your blood sugar so it doesn't become too high and start damaging your organs. Now, if you eat a ton of that sweet cake every day, your pancreas is going to have to work a lot harder to make enough insulin to combat that glucose. Over time, your body can start to build up an insulin resistance, and you'd likely gain weight. If you don't address the weight gain and insulin resistance, you could end up with prediabetes. If left untreated, prediabetes usually turns into type 2 diabetes within 5 to 10 years. According to a handful of studies, cold exposure may actually improve insulin sensitivity in people with type 2 diabetes. And frankly, even if you don't have diabetes, cold exposure will still have a positive impact on your insulin sensitivity. There's a whole slew of research that looks at the benefits of maintaining low glucose levels without sudden or prolonged spikes that can help lessen the chance of you developing a disease later in life, and also helping you to live a longer life. But that's another video. A 2022 study found that being exposed to cold water increases the levels of a protein produced in the fat cells that aids in insulin resistance. I can personally attest to the effects of this, as I occasionally wear the Freestyle Libre to monitor my glucose levels even though I'm not diabetic. And my glucose tends to spike pretty high immediately after cold exposure, but then it drops down below baseline levels for a prolonged period of time. The reason as to why glucose spikes after hot or cold exposure is still debated, but one leading theory is the act of thermogenesis, which is the act of our bodies producing heat, which releases stored glucose in our fat cells. A team from the Yale Diabetes Research Center actually recently found that the production of body heat is activated directly by insulin, and that this is coupled with insulin's effect to stimulate glucose uptake. And last but not least, cold exposure can lead to better muscle performance in the gym. The constriction of blood vessels can help to reduce waste products like lactic acid out of the muscles, thus helping you to recover in a shorter period of time. In a study featured in the Journal of Medicine in 2016, it was revealed that emerging from cold water triggers a surge in blood circulation, facilitating an influx of oxygen to your muscles and allowing them to contract with greater efficacy. This in turn elevates muscle performance, as the increased oxygen levels provide a vital boost to your bodily systems. However, there is an important exception to this advice. It is recommended that you wait a few hours after exercising before subjecting yourself to any kind of cold exposure. This is because the cold water can reduce inflammation in the body, and the process of building new muscle requires a certain level of muscle breakdown and repair. Therefore, it is only recommended to use cold exposure on days when you have engaged in heavy lifting before going to the gym. Now that we've explored the numerous benefits of cold water immersion, let's take a different look at the options available for those looking to try it out, regardless of budget. Option number 1. For those looking for a simple and affordable option, taking cold showers can actually be a great way to start. It's easy to implement, is free, and can basically be done anywhere at any time. The only downside is how cold you can get the water temperature. It depends on the time of year and also where you live. I've also seen others recommending you try cold showers before investing in a tank, and I think that's rubbish. I can sit in a 52-degree cold tank for 20 minutes, no problem, but ask me to do 60 seconds of 60-degree water and I can't do it. This is an experience shared by many, and I surmise it's because the water spraying and running down your body is more triggering to your nervous system than just staying still in a still body of cold water. There actually is science behind this, and I'll actually be covering that in my next video of my hot soak tank. Option number 2. If you're looking for a more immersive experience, building your own ice tub can be a fun do-it-yourself project. While it requires a bit more space and effort to set up, it can also be a relatively budget-friendly option compared to some of the more high-end models. All you need is an old tub, a place to put it in, and a bunch of ice to throw in. Option number 3 is along the same lines as the do-it-yourself tub, but it's a product called the Ice Barrel from icebarrel.com. It's presently a little over $1,000, and it's basically just a plastic barrel you can fill with a bunch of ice and soak in. Option number 4. For those who are looking for a more plug-and-play option, the coldplunge.com is a popular choice. At around $5,000, it's a significant investment, but it's a sleek and portable option that can be easily incorporated into your home or gym. The founders of this company appeared on Shark Tank and have actually been doing incredibly well selling these things. I wasn't able to find much in terms of reviews online, but in general it seems the biggest complaint is how loud it can be. I also have an entrepreneur friend here in Austin who told me he regrets buying it as he's had some issues with the general reliability of the chiller. Option number 5. This is the option I went with, and it also happens to be the most expensive on the list at around $10,000. And that is the Cold Stoic from renutherapy.com. It's a significant investment, but in my opinion, it's also the best option on the market for those who are serious about cold water immersion. It's suitable for indoor or outdoor use, and it has been incredibly reliable at maintaining a consistent temperature no matter how hot the ambient air temperature gets. The owners of the company are also phenomenal, particularly Steve, who's the operations manager, has always helped me to troubleshoot issues. For example, at the beginning I noticed that the tank actually had trouble cooling below 50 degrees, so he sent me a brand new chiller that solved the problem immediately. No money, no questions asked. The only downside I've had is a recurring issue with some black mold that tends to build up on the internal piping system. I've been able to reduce this by putting in a UV light inside the tank and keeping it on a timer. In conclusion, cold water immersion, or cold plunging, has a rich history and offers a plethora of benefits, including muscle soreness relief, enhanced mood, improved sleep, increased metabolism, and immunity boosting. Whether you're an athlete or simply looking to improve your overall health and well-being, cold plunging is definitely worth considering. If you've liked part 2 of my 3-part series, please leave a like. As always, thank you for watching. If you have any further questions about cold water immersion, I would love to talk to you about it. Let me know below, and I'll see you next time.